Okay, I'm trying to open up unbox, but my box is a manila envelope. So over the years, this World War One game has passed on from person to person, and the only thing that remains about it is $4 charge evidently, and this manila envelope. So I'm unboxing it from the manila envelope. But if you look in the thumbnail for this video, you'll see what the cover might have looked like for this game. I just found it in my closet, and I thought I would try it and take a look at it. Only thing it comes with and needed is a set of war games of rules and a mat board, one-sided. And evidently this was part of a magazine folio. This is maybe this is the folio version. I don't know if it's the folio or the magazine version, but those games that came in magazine. And I punched out units already punched out. So that's the first time I've opened the bag to see if they're actually there. Got the different nationalities, and that I'll sort out: French and Italian, and different. Some of them are only a couple of units for those nationalities. I haven't played the game, but I have read the rules already, so I'll give it a shot here in a while and see. After I sort these out and do the initial historic setup, we'll see if I can play the first turn. Thanks. Okay, this is the situation with World War I game. After actually I played all the way down, it's the third turn. So I played to the third turn because it plays fast and it's easy to do, and I kind of got into the game. I'm not sure how to use these crypts yet. The crypts are, you can spend them for units, so it would seem a shame not to have units on the board, so I've bought the ones that are available, paid for. The Russians and the Germans have not maxed out. They've got most of them. The Austro-Hungarians have maxed out, but it does lower your crypts a little bit, and so maybe you'll lose the super attack. The super attack phase, be the super player. So you might lose that and not be the first one to be able to attack. There's been give and a take here. It seems like this feels like the World War One, almost trench warfare back and forth. Over here, it's much more fluid. I don't know what's going to happen, but I actually had the Russians coming into Germany to try to invade a little bit, to try to knock out some of it, gather some of these victory point areas. But they lose a lot when the Germans attack the Russians. They drive them. They have double losses when they're attacked by Germans. So it seemed to drive them back. But they still have hefty crypts. They're up to 62, so that gives them the ability to take losses like that. So I'm not sure how to play the game yet, but here's the situation, and we'll see who gets the points. Okay. This is the situation after the movement on the third turn. Here's where the field is located before combat. After the Germans, after the third turn, after movement and all the things are done. Looks like there's so many crypts for Germany and Russia. There's no reason they should retreat at all. They should hold their ground, because they have lots, they can hold on and lose. I'm beginning to understand how the crypts are used. Okay, this is the situation after the fourth turn of World War I SPI. You see nothing's moved here very much. Nothing's moved. The Italians are trying to go through this fortress right here so they can push a little bit. The Russians have solidified their defense here. They have lots of crypts to use. They're the highest level of crypts, so they can afford to hold on and not retreat at all when you use these crypts. And the Germans have a high level too. So I haven't been using these well. I think you need to expend them in combat. But what that means is that in the mechanics of the games, they don't have to retreat. They can just take crypt losses and hold their ground. So this game reminds me a lot of all the World War I games that I've played, it plays like World War I, which means everything just bogs down and you can't move the front at all. There's no way even to move it. The only thing that happens is that you just suck up the resources on which was equivalent to losing all the manpower of the nations. And the Russians are big on this too, but they can lose 84 Crips before they have to move, which just means they just keep pouring people into the front and holding on, which is, so it's probably in that sense it's kind of historic, but as the game goes, it gets kind of dull. After the summer 1916 turn 5, turn 6 will be a winter turn, so things will be slower. There are some penalties for fighting in the winter. The game still moves pretty well, as always abstracted. It's an abstract game for World War I, so having only 2 turns per year and only 5 movements across the board is kind of an abstract way to imitate the actual movement of armies. But it still feels like World War I. And this turn I used the Crips, the CRPs, correctly, I think, and just fought the war of attrition across this front, and really beat the Russians down. They started out at 80 Crips and now they're down to 8. So that may make a difference on their being able to defend this area. They're only going to get so many back. Looks like they'll get back another 25, but that'll put them pretty low, and that might be the way to beat back this front. Some of them I felt had to retreat, and actually they're going to have to retreat. That's what happened up here on this front. The Belgian army was defending at this point, and so we could bring some British soldiers to these areas down here to try to threaten to beat the Austro-Hungarians down here, perhaps, and move these down to try to break through with the Italians over here a little bit if possible. But the don't know how well that will work. The Serbians, we brought the Serbians into play to try to also threaten the Austrian-Hungarians here, to see if they can try to bring Austria-Hungary under threat of losing their supply and taking them out of the war, which is a possibility in this game, perhaps. So, beginning to learn the strategy of the game, if not the strategy of World War I. Anyway, so that's the end of the 5th turn, the 6th turn. Okay, here's the situation after the winter turn. We went ahead and they used the German Strauss unit, infiltration unit, and it has mandatory retreats, so it managed to push back the line a little bit. Left these places open, but with the zone of control, it would be foolish to move there in that place and be out of supply. So looks like that was a successful push for the Germans, moving the front forward. Over here, the Russians haven't been able to attack successfully, and they have been suffering attrition. Not quite as bad as last time. They have 15 to start with, to be reloaded back up with another 20. So the attrition isn't moving them back. Looks like Austria-Hungary, we have some British units threatening, some Serbians here, Italians there, but not moving too much. But Austria-Hungary does feel a little bit threatened. And that's the situation. Okay, here is the situation before turn 7, summer 1917. U.S. enters into winter. Okay, this turn, next turn. There's our Crips. And the front here broken up a little bit by the Germans' new troops that can push back one unit, one square at a time. So British are putting some units out into Austria-Hungary to see if the Allies can beat them down. Okay, this is the situation after the 7th turn, which is summer 1917, before rebuilding the crypts. Russia's all the way down to 0. Russia went to 0 crypts. So some of the units had to retreat after combat in order to keep from being lost. Romania was captured by Turkey. Italians are not doing well pushing against Austro-Hungarians here. The British unit here is in danger of being isolated. It was probably a mistake to bring it over here. And the Straßtruppen are enabling Germany to push closer to Paris. So there's some interesting developments during this turn. Okay, so here's the situation after the after the winter turn, 1917-18. The U.S. has actually entered the war, so we have some U.S. units there. Now the Straßtruppen rule allows the Germans to advance 1 hex wherever their combat differential is 2 or higher, and so that will enable them to take Paris. I don't know how much, that's a few victory points, and they do have a supply they can supply. Even though zones of control are there, they can continue to supply through units that way. So they're not out of supply in that push. The Straßtruppen are used down here also, and the Russian crypts are getting low, so they were driven back, but they didn't have to retreat because of that, but the Straßtruppen are pushing them back. So the Russians are threatened to lose again, as per they stopped out of the war and about this time, so they are getting pushed back. The Allied idea to push into Austria-Hungary didn't work too well, and they lost Romania and Serbia. And this unit here is not isolated, but it's not going to accomplish much. In fact, this British unit here. And so that's the end of, that's after the winter 1918 turn. Only 2 turns left in this game. Okay, here's the situation of the game before the 9th and the 10th turns, actually. So there's the Russian front, there's the Western front over there, and this way. And here's the situation after the 9th turn, which is, the 9th turn is the summer 1918. Next turn is a winter turn where there's some penalties in combat. The Russian front is in disarray. For the Russians, these important towns of Warsaw, Brest, Lubovnik have been captured. These other towns will be captured, and that'll be the end of the Russians. That one's an important town too, captured by Germany because they're beginning to fall back. This unit's going to be isolated, and so it'll have to be removed at this turn. So on the Western Front, Germany has made significant forays into France because of the Straßtruppen that are enabling them to retreat 1 hex, forcing a retreat after combat if they have a 2 differential in combat. When you're figuring the combat, it's a stalemate of the Italians and haven't been able to move the Austrians and Hungarians. This British unit here hasn't accomplished much. The thought was maybe to help him come down here and open up Turkey after they failed to have any significant impact on Austria-Hungary. So anyway, that's the situation. We're about to play the last turn of the game. It's the end of the game, and so the final outcome was, looks like the Allies about 105. There might be 110 because I might not have counted Belgium, and the Axis 90 points. So the Allies won, even though the Russians were in disarray and about to lose, but they didn't drive back far enough to get this town. We had to get rid of Kiev. So that's how that happened on that front. On this front, even though the Allies lost Paris, they still held on to a lot of resource places here and in Italy, and they get 75 points because of an ongoing blockade. And those kind of things helped keep the Allies from losing and actually win the game. I think it plays really well. I do enjoy it. It does have a different aspect with the combat resource points. You're going to have to learn how to use those. One of the things to do would be to take this Turkey to enable combat resource points to be pushed to Russia, because they always run down to 0. But these are the units, the French and the US and the British are heavy in resource points, but you can't transfer them if you don't have this access to the Black Sea. So may be one of the reasons that the Allies tried, with Winston Churchill tried the Allied Gallipoli, I think that's how you pronounce it, invasion down here somewhere in this area, to take those Dardanelles, get through that strait, take the strait so they can supply to the Russians, send supplies to the Russians. But if I was playing the Axis again, that's what I would. If I'm playing again, I'm thinking the Axis best strategy is to combine the Austrian-Hungarians and the Germans and push hard on the Russians to try to beat them early. You can get some very high resource points. Even if they beat them late in the game, it would have made a difference, because they would have gotten 15 points even that late in the game. That would have been a tie, taken up to 105. So you could. That's definitely the strategy to use if you use this game, and maybe just hold it on. Now the Staatstruppen make a big difference. Those guys force retreats of 1 hex at least if they have a combat differential of 2 and a combat results of 1 or 0. I kind of forgot the combat results, so I may have pushed a little bit, allowed them to push a little bit harder. This front here is interesting in that nothing moved. You could not make it move, because the Austro-Hungarians always seem to have crypts available, and so if they had that, they could just take losses and not be forced back. So it was hard, even though I threw U.S. units and British units into the front, trying to push that and see if I could do it. I even tried some adventures down here, bringing in some units to see if I could attack and destroy Austria-Hungary from the rear, from the south, but it was unsuccessful. So anyway, I recommend the game. Looks like fun to me. But it's a little bit different, and it doesn't have the Panzer breakouts and dramatic things of World War II. So as far as that goes, it may not be as interesting as other games, but it does make you feel like that you're doing World War I. So there you go. Okay, I hope you enjoyed playing the game with me. I might do it again. So just to say thank you, and if you subscribe to my channel, you never know, I might play. I'm thinking about playing that Fortress Europa again with a different approach, kind of a strange thing. So I'll do that, and some people like that game. And then I have some other things on my channel with music and history, a few new history videos. So you might be interested in those local history things that I'm doing too. So thank you very much. Bye.